Good morning. We look today at Proverbs 10 through 15, combining yesterday's and today's readings. And, on these chapters of Proverbs, you could underline just about every verse or every pair of verses, but it seems like a lot of, it's an individual verse. Like verse 1, a wise child makes a glad father, but a foolish child is a mother's grief. And often within these, I think, rather than just say mother or father, we could say parent, because it's moms and dads are both alike. We're proud of our children when they do good and when they do something stupid or, we all feel the grief. But, so that's one, I have that verse underlined in my Bible, as well as many others. But, like verse 2, treasures gained by profit or treasures gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. So each verse is a little nugget, almost going all the way through here. And I've got, I've underlined a couple verses this morning, but, I've got several that have been underlined for many times, many years here. And like verse 9 of chapter 10, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever follows perverse ways, will be found out. Verse 12, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. And, love, I don't know, this, when you think about how we forgive, and that's, God's love, because of God's love, we're forgiven. And it's only because of God's love that we're forgiven. And, and Satan is the one that stirs up troubles and stuff. But anyway, going on, verse 14, the wise lay up knowledge, but the babbling of a fool brings ruin near, and it is the wise. You think about that, sometimes, somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about just kind of goes on and on and on and on and on, and they're, trying to figure it out on their way as they're going through, and sometimes it's, when somebody that doesn't speak often suddenly speaks, maybe that's a good time to listen because they've been soaking up whatever it might be. And, they're going to have more of a comment that they've thought out, and they understand, and there's more depth and meaning to it. Verse 26 I have underlined, like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so are the lazy to their employers. And I don't know about vinegar to the teeth. I don't make a habit of drinking vinegar, but you think about pickles and olives and how, those are, kind of a vinegar base, or, and they're kind of strong. They're kind of, the taste is there. And you know what happens, what your eyes feel like when you get smoke in them from a campfire or from, any kind of smoke like that. It makes them burn. And it's saying that, those kinds of things that, those irritations aren't something that makes an employer happy. And in the job market, in the world today, jobs are so changed, and especially with COVID, with so many people having worked from home, or the differences and everything going on now. And I've talked about it, not just in the last 2 years, but several years now. It used to be somebody would start a job with a company, and your loyalty was to that company. And it was, if you drove a Dodge or a Chevy or a Ford, if your dad did, you did. And, it was, but, today we don't have those loyalties anymore. But, and that's the kind of, and then we have all of these sign-on bonuses that encourage you to job jump and everything, So it's, there are a lot of things that cause problems that way. But those small irritations. If you can't trust somebody with the job, it just takes an awful lot more detail and a lot more work on the employer's part that way. Chapter 11. As it starts out, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, an accurate weight is his delight. And, and I think about, this is about cheating. And there are so many ways to cheat different things. And that's, like it talks an accurate weight is a delight. And we've all heard stories of people with their scales, where they'll add a little bit, put a penny or a nickel or something on it, or they'll lean just a little bit on it, or there's a lot of ways to add or to subtract, whichever it may be that you want to do. And to get an accurate measure is often hard, and we're a lot of times on those we're at the mercy at the mercy and the honesty of the person doing the weighing. And so, an accurate weight is a delight, and to know that you can trust somebody, that you go in and you know that the scale is right. And that's, there are a lot of things we buy in the grocery store that they take this bunch of bananas and they put it on the scale and it weighs it, or an onion, or so many things they put on, and it's, we trust that it's right. And we trust that each time that those registers go beep when something goes across, that it's ringing up the correct amount. But we hear stories of that they don't, and that, you see the price tag is this on the shelf and it rings up differently than that. And so the honesty in sales, the honesty in the weight and all of that makes a lot of difference. And so, it's, cheating is not what God would have. The integrity of the upright guides them, is verse 3 of chapter 11. Jumping up to verse 13, a gossip goes about telling secrets, but one who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a confidence. When there is no guidance, a nation falls, but an abundance of counselors, there is safety. And both of those, statements, I have them both underlined and I read them both together, but, individually, we need to think about them, that the gossip goes about telling secrets, but one who's trustworthy is in confidence. And you have people that you don't want to tell something important to. Other people that you would trust, with everything that you've got. And I think about, our political scene today. We talk about the politicians are being, so many of them are corrupt, and they're in the pocket of this group or that group, and that's why it's good that we don't have just one person with too much power. And in some ways we have people with too much power, but and that again too goes about, if that person has a lot of power, if they're trustworthy with it, it's all right. But if they're not, then they need to have somebody that is monitoring them. And that's part of why, the United States was formed with, the House of Representatives and the Senate and the Supreme Court and the President. They all are, to keep each other in line for the most part. Doesn't always work very well, but go ahead to chapter 12, verse 11. Those who till the land will have plenty of food, but those who follow worthless pursuits have no sense. And, thousands of years ago, this was much more realistic than now. Our farmers are such a small percentage of people that provide the food for everybody. And when COVID first started, well, then it was, everybody start growing your vegetable gardens and doing this and that, and grow your own veggies and do it. And how much can you really grow in a box on a windowsill? You're not going to be able to feed your family, and it's not instantaneous, and we've got so much more available all year long now than we never used to be able to buy, so many different fruits and stuff all year long, but things are different now. But the reality is that, those who work the land, those who work to provide a living for themselves are so much better off. And it's getting to the point that, being on welfare doesn't have the stigma that it used to have. But to take care of yourself. Verse 15 of chapter 12, fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to advice. And you get so set in your ways on something, you need to be open-minded. Verse 17, whoever speaks the truth gives honest advice, but a false witness speaks deceitfully. Just a couple things quickly in chapter 13, verse 11. Wealth hastily gotten will dwindle, but those who gather little by little will increase it. And when I read that, I think about people that win the lottery. You know, how long is it and it seems like they're broke again? Or, you know, some of these, some people that just inherit everything. They just blow it. But, you know, you're so much better off, you know, to earn it little by little and to work for it yourself that way. Chapter 14, verse 16 and 17, the wise are cautious and turn away from evil, but the fool throws off restraint carelessly. And one who is quick-tempered acts foolishly, and a schemer is hated. Verse 23, in all toil there is profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. And we all know people that are all talk and no action, right? Or talk a good story. And just quickly to chapter 15, verse 1, a soft answer turns away wrath, a harsh word stirs up anger. Verse 3, the eyes of the Lord are in every place. Verse 4, a gentle tongue is a tree of life. And verse 7, the lips of the wise spread knowledge. And there are so many things in Proverbs. As I said, you could underline almost every verse, or every verse will speak to us at some point in time. And anyway, I think it's about time to cease again for today. And thanks for joining me again. But just to know that there are so many things, so many lessons that we can learn from the Bible. But so many people, need to learn it by the school of hard knocks. And sometimes we need to really think about what it is we read and what we can learn from others.